Hello student. So, today we will continue another module, that is module 13, and this module is on integrated solid waste management and SWM rule, solid waste management rule. So, first I think in this module we will have two lectures, one on integrated solid waste management, what is the meaning, and on which particular case we can say that is a integrated waste management system, and second lecture on solid waste management rule, especially what are the duties, responsibilities is given to the different stakeholders. Okay. So, this lecture today we start from integrated solid waste management. One very important issue is that when you say is a integrated solid waste management plan, so most of the people will understand that is a integrated process means there will be a different kind of treatment process or disposal facilities are available. Like in the same the plan is including sanitary landfill also, maybe composting plants also, maybe incineration plants also, that they normally understood as an integrated solid waste management plan, but it is not true. That is why I thought of to have one special discussion onto the integrated solid waste management plan system, and also need to know that how the one local corporation or local authority or ULB will prepare the plan. This plan especially is explained in the manual, solid waste manual 2016. So, I thought of this should be known to the students also, how the corporations are normally planning the entire solid waste management plan. So, first we will start from the integrated solid waste management. So, first what is the meaning of integrated solid waste management? Is a comprehensive waste collection, treatment, recovery and disposal method that aim to provide the environmental sustainability, economic, proper and special social acceptance from the specific region. So, this is the few important idea about integrated solid waste management. It is including the all physical elements of municipal solid waste management based on the environmental sustainability, the economic way, and finally, it should be accepted by the local areas, socially also should be accepted. So, this is called integrated solid waste management system. So, when you say the idea about integrated solid waste management strategy, so which is including the entire issues about the solid waste management system, like it is starting from the culture, technical, economic, this all the social as well as economical, technical context, and after that it is also including the waste material, what kind of sources, different stakeholders, and finally, it will go to the planning or designing or implementation of integrated solid waste management plan, and that has to be also accept on the three bases like environmental, social and economic constraint has to be accept, and based on that how best we can prevent the waste, reduce the waste, recover, or how best we can dispose the waste, that normally called as a integrated solid waste strategy. So, what is the ISWM or integrated solid waste management planning process? Normally it will start from the identify need, first you identify, review the existing system, review the existing regulations, what are the available in the particular region, a particular city or particular state, and then organize the decision making framework by calling the different stakeholders, and then finally you establish the objective. Okay. So, once the objective is finalized, then try to identify the potential component, like once the objective will come up, like we can go for treatment process like biological treatment or chemical treatment kind of processes, then see that the potential component of that, then compare the option what are the different options, and based on that you develop the integrated solid waste management plan. And once the plan is ready, then try to implement how best we can implement that, and then evaluate the complete waste management system. So, likewise again you can go by, suppose if you are not benefiting the particular objective or is not possible to achieve, then again go in the same way. So, likewise we can go for integrated solid waste planning. Now, when you say the integrated solid waste management plan or system or strategy, normally we will talk about the 3 physical elements and 3 governance features. So, there are 6 features or elements are need to be discussed under the integrated solid waste management plan, strategy or process. So, the first we will start with the physical elements. So, there are 3 physical elements that need to be addressed. The first is the public health. So, now the what is the benefit of ISWM is that normally we called as a collection by proper collection. So, rather than collection, why not to call as in public health. So, the objective could be how best we can see the public health of the local people. So, how we can maintain the public health properly by maintaining the healthy condition in the urban locations, particularly through a good collection services. So, suppose these kind of collection system like house to house collection systems are available, like as it is start in the Swachh Bharat mission, that is the best kind of primary collection and secondary collection could be possible. But if you have this kind of collection or storage, I think it is not good actually, and because of that lot of public health issues will come up. Next is the environment. So, now how best we can maintain the environment. So, this environmental condition will be maintained specially by waste management and waste treatment and disposal. If you are able to treat properly all kind of collected waste and also the proper disposal of entire waste, then is good for the environmental conditions in the local area. So, by proper protection of environment through a waste chain, especially during treatment and disposal. So, if you have this kind of recycling process, which I showed it in the some photograph, proper recycling process, proper treatment process, proper sanitary landfill facilities is available in the city. So, that we can easily maintain the environmental condition in the local area. And third point is the resource management. This is also one of the most important physical element of ISWM, and how this resource management could be possible by proper recycling of dry waste and also getting product from the organic material. So, in this one, if you talk about the 4 R's, normally we know the 3 R's which I am showing in the next slide. The 4 R and closing the loop by returning both material and nutrient to the beneficial use through preventing waste and striving for high rate of organic recovery and reuse and recycling. So, this physical element normally, see, when you talk about the solid waste management plan, normally we will talk about the collection, we will talk about treatment, we will talk about disposal also. But these kind of physical elements is not possible until you will talk about the resource management, okay, because there are a lot of materials are getting recyclable, lot of material can be treated and to get product out of that. So, that is the important one. Now, when you talk about the treatment also, always thought about what kind of or how best you can get it some kind of resource out of that. Like for example, most of the dry matter like metal, glass, paper, rubber, leather, this is all recyclable one, and this is also become a one of the very good resource out of that. And most of these materials are combustible also, you can get energy out of that. That is also another one kind of very good product will come up out there, or resource will generate out of that. And when you talk about the biological treatment processes, so in the composting, obviously we will get very good quality compost if you are able to manage proper composting plant. In anaerobic digestion, you will be able to produce methane gas. This is also one very good very renewable kind of energy we will be able to produce out of anaerobic digestion process. So, almost all kind of treatment processes or recycling processes will be able to produce resource out of that. So, normally this resource management in most of the city is not done by the formal sectors like corporation, because they will be all busy with the collections and disposal only, but they never and that kind of funds also is not available with them. But is good as the Swachh Bharat mission, most of the cities got good amount of fund. So, let us see that many cities will come up with treatment facility or proper disposal facility, but right now this informal recycling sectors are sectors is around saved 20% of more waste management budget. Because there are number of recycling facilities are available from the informal sectors. Okay. So, the 3 R's is a reduce, reuse, recycle. Okay. So, this is the 4 R concept. Normally this 4th R is specially given for the developing countries, especially like India. So, closing the loop by returning both material nutrient to the beneficial use. So, this 4 R, the 4 R's means the first is the reduce, so as possible as reduce, reuse as possible as possible, and recycle. And now the 4th R is a special, this loop will get closed by returning material or nutrient to the beneficial use. These are specially I think many textbook you will find is a recovery they are writing. So, but I think I won't I put it here because most of the textbooks also you will find this recovery one, but see this is recycle also is one kind of recovery. This rather than recovery, the important thought about developing countries like India, this R is for return nutrients to soil. I think that is the best word in the by R. There is return nutrients to soil, means what is the definition of that? How the nutrients will be returned to the soil? By producing compost from the wet waste. This compost will have lot of nutrients, and these nutrients is getting returned to the soil, because the same waste has been generated in the soil, and a lot of nutrients took from the soil and to come up with the as an food for the humans. So, why not the same nutrients we need to return to the soil. So, that is a good idea for the developing countries like India, even the South Asian countries or even the African countries, if this kind of idea is very important to propose. So, is a reduce, reuse, recycle and return nutrients to soil. So, by composting we can easily we can have these particular nutrients we can also return to the soil. So, it will close the entire loop. Now, the governance features. So, there are 3 governance features. So, the governance strategy to deliver the well functional system of ISWM until the 1990 would probably have been framed primarily around technology, but there is a need of governance government participations also is very important, or some of the governance features also are important. So, this is the one that earlier even 90s we always talk about the technology, we required special technology for treatment of mixed waste. Likewise, we used to discuss, we never used to talk about some governance features also are important to have the proper management system. So, this good waste governance there are three major governance features. First is the inclusive. So, is a inclusive, providing the transparent space for the stakeholder to contribute as user. Next is the financial sustainable, and third is the sound institutions and proactive policies. Now, here you understand that it should be whatever plan you make it, it should be inclusive. So, what is the meaning of inclusive? Means it should be contribute by the all the stakeholders. This is the one of the very important point. Now, what is normally the plan is proposed by the local authority, that how best they can collect the waste and they can dispose the waste. But I think they never talk about the generators, they never talked about the rag pickers or informal sector. There are number of NGOs are working with the waste management, they never used to talk about them. So, many times see, suppose some corporation is starting some incineration facility, they never thought about there are hundreds of rag pickers, they are continuously collecting, or from last few years they were collecting the recyclable matters for so suppose if you have the one particular incineration plant, so they will not be able to collect that waste. So, I think you need to have discussion with them also, their inclusions also is very important. Next is the financial sustainability, this is very important one. See, any project if it is not financial sustainable, how we can extend that project for 20 years or 25 years. When you are saying, see, that is why when we talked about the treatment processes, we should talk about the resource generation out of that. So, it is not only the resource generation, mean you produce the compost is okay, but need to see that whether that compost can get some kind of fund that can be sell, and can get some out of some kind of fund out of that, can generate fund out of that. Biogas, see, you can install the biogas plants, and you are saying that our city is having very good biogas plant, very big biogas reactor we have been installed, biogas is producing, and if you are not able to utilize that particular biogas for energy production, what is the benefit of such kind of plant? You can say that you reduce the waste or you maintain the waste by having this kind of treatment facility, but how these plants will work for next 20 years or 25 years, because the obviously capital fund you can't generate by selling of this kind of product, but capital fund you will get it from the either state government or central government to have such kind of facility. But for operation cost, because for all this kind of treatment process you will be required lot of manpower, a lot of maintenance issues are there. So, you will be required fund. Now, every year will you ask these corporations will ask the fund to the state government or central government? No, they have to depend on their own. So, that financial sustainability has to be there. Until now, I never saw that any corporation is talking about the sustainability. So, maybe sustainability can't possible in first 5 years, maybe the sustainability will come by next 10 years, no issue, but at least you are trying to become sustainable. So, that is the idea. Next is the sound institutions and proactive policy. This is another very important the governance feature. So, in India normally we do not have sound institutions. I think you can say that, sir, we have Swachh Bharat mission started by ministries, but these ministries are working for total environment. The rules are making by the one special ministry called Ministry of Environment. They have there, but we need sound institutions, we need some special institutions, or even the academic institutions also we do not have. Like did you find anywhere the special degree on solid waste management? For even for solid waste management also, I think this course, to study this course, you have to get admission in IITs or very big institutes in India. After passing the GATE exam in the very good score, then only you will get admission in such colleges, and then only you will study these kind of courses. So you required and problem is that see lot of manpowers are involving into the solid waste management programs, but are those manpowers are skilled? No, they are learning by working in the plants. So, they do not have skill. So, for skilled you required special institutions to create the skill in the those manpowers, and also we required special proactive policies. So, every year need to get some fund to the local authority. Is not that once in a 15 years, once in a 20 years you give one capital fund, maybe few crores, and ask the local authority to start some plants and run it for next 20 years. Is not possible, because you need continuous fundings also should be available. So, until that, until the local authority won't go for sustainability or won't achieve the sustainability, until that you need to fund them, and particular policy should be required. So, same thing here also I wrote it, you can read this. So, financial sustainability. So, you can see here in developing countries like India, SWM represent a significant proportion of the total co-current budget of the city, with figure of 3 to 15% being reported by the reference city. And if you see that when the solid waste budgets are divided by the population, this per capita figure is expressed as a percentage of GDP. Most of the cities are in the range of 0.1 to 0.7%. Yet in relatively high cost, collection services coverage is often low and disposal standard remains poor. See, this is the one problem with the financial sustainability. So, the essential first step is to establish current cost to serve as a baseline for comparing the cost of any proposal improvements to the waste management system, and similarly sound institutions. Now, there are some reflections of ISWM with the solid waste, municipal solid waste management, and with the climate change also. So, obviously, I think if you have proper solid waste management plan and or integrated solid waste management plan, is obviously you can reduce the carbon emission, and because of we can get lot of fund by low carbon scenario because of that, and waste recycling. So, obviously, we can reduce the we can maintain proper climatic change by waste recycling, by capturing landfill gas, so that it will not create problem to the environment. Now, this is one slide is for gender equity aspects. I think this slide I keep it here is because in solid informal sector, especially if you see that number of females are working in the solid waste management, and even the kids are working for the solid waste management system. So, under the integrated solid waste management need to be designed in such a way that the proper gender equity aspects we can maintain. So, it is not only the males are working for the waste management and females are not working, only females will work for street sweeping, and they should not be or they are not allowing at disposal sites. It should not be like that. Try to maintain the female equity, because there are number of manpowers are working in the solid waste management projects. Similarly, the informal sector integration, this actually we have seen in the governance features also inclusive. So, in the inclusive is not only the government participation only, or government companies or government authorities participation only should be inclusive, but also the informal sector also should be integrate, like NGO, CBOs, community based organizations, self-help group, some private sector. Now, here in 2006 when these PPP projects have been started under JNREM program, so there also this discussion had been started. So, there when you say PPP projects means public private partnership. So, public means is a local authority, local governments, and private means is a private company. Now, when this discussion had been extended, there also this question has been come up, only this collaboration is between the corporation and with the private company. What is the role of other stakeholders like generators, their household people or enablers, they also need to be included into that. So, that is why this was one. Second, the rag picker, we have huge population in the city of the rag picking. There are number of NGOs are working, CBOs are working, and self-help groups are there. So, they also need to be at least to come up into these kind of programs. So, I personally believe that like in NGOs, these are also the big groups. Why not these NGOs can be accept as an in the primary collection? Maybe they can't go for treatment and disposal facility, because it is a very big task for them, but at least for primary collection they can help. And why I am proposing that NGOs in the primary collection, because for primary collection you need to aware the local people first, and aware is not only to provide the proper waste, but also to provide the segregated waste. So, you will be required lot of awareness issues required. So, why not by giving that particular task to the NGOs, they can also go for awareness first, and they can talk to the each households and can explain them what will the benefit of segregation, how best they can do the segregation in the house. So, that kind of integration should be required. And also because now these informal sectors are not coming under the official jobs, because they are in the informal one. So, by giving this particular task to them, like there are number of rag pickers, if you have one particular kind of recycling facility near the disposal site, or maybe somewhere very close where number of rag pickers are residing. So, and ask them to collect the recyclable matter, and by that way we can pay them, we can give the proper jobs to them, and because of that you can ask them to have proper clothes, you can provide them shoes, and all the facility you can provide them. So, they will also enjoy and they will also work for you, and but pay properly to those people. So, in they will be also can accept it as an one of the working person for along with the local authorities. So, likewise here the kabadi wala system. So, there are number of kabadi walas are there. So, why not you can include such kind of people. And also this is one news that waste speakers hold public hearing, raise issues. Okay. Now, when you talk about the hierarchy of integrated solid waste management, what should be the hierarchy of integrated solid waste management? So, this is the most preferred to the least preferred hierarchy of integrated solid waste management plan. So, now here first start from the source reduction and reuse. Okay, this is the most preferred the point, followed by recycling. Suppose now when you make a plan, so first you talk about how best you can reduce the waste, reduce or reuse the waste. That is the first thought should come to your mind, or come to the local authorities when they are planning for solid waste management plan or integrated solid waste management plan. Then how best they can go for recycling of all valuable matters, and then once whatever best could be possible to reduce, reuse and recycle, then you talk about composting. all your biological waste, how best you can take it out and go for composting process, maybe composting or biogas facility, anaerobic digestion facility also you can think about that. And then finally go for either waste to energy, if possible waste to energy. And now for waste to energy, by that we can get some kind of energy, maybe even the under this biomethanation or anaerobic digestion also you can propose under the waste to energy. If finally go for landfilling, which is the least preferred. Okay. So, whatever is not possible for source reduction, not for recycling, composting, waste to energy, that will goes to the landfill area. That is the proper hierarchy of the integrated solid waste management strategy or plan. But in India, I think rather than discussing on this, we will directly go for landfill. So, we will first most preferred is the landfill, and then we will talk about the recycling, composting or waste to energy. That is not the good idea. Now, the 7-step approach for the preparation of MSWM plan. So, this particular plan has been proposed under the solid waste management plan, and I found is very good. So, I will just share few important points. So, this actually this approach is I personally believe that is very good for the corporations, because in India there are number of class 2 and class 3 towns where population is around 1 million to 0.1 million population is residing like districts or taluka level. And if you talk to them about the preparation of solid waste management plan, many of their staffs are not well aware about this kind of thing, the plan preparation. So, this approach will help to those kind of corporations where the proper or maybe proper staffs are not available to understand, and by that way they can come up with particular plan. So, these plans should be along with the SWM rule 2016 and the state sanitation strategy developed under the National Urban Sanitation Policy. So, ULB should systematically develop their MSWM WM system by implementing tools, equipment, vehicle, processing and disposal facility to meet the long term need of the ULB, and is also financially sustainable. So, this is what the different steps. Okay. So, step 1 is a policy, program and legal framework. Step 2 is assessment of current situation and gap analysis, and also the stakeholders is given here. In step 1, what will be the stakeholder? In step 2, assessment of current situation, gap analysis, what are the stakeholders or what are the aspects has to be looked upon into this particular step. Third is the step 3 is a stakeholder consultation of MSWM planning. So, here the third point, once you are coming with the assessment, current situation, gap analysis, we will come up with the stakeholder consultation, and based on the consultation we will come up with the preparation of draft MSWM plan, where the population forecast or having the different rules, regulation, you can come up with the draft proposal. Then after that, once the draft proposal is ready, they need to go through step 5, schedule for implementation. So, timeline, manpower, financial viability, that will become prepared, and once the draft proposal with the schedule, again we will go for stakeholder consultation. So, again we will go to the step 3 and we will have discussion there with all the stakeholders, and once everything is accepted to all the stakeholders, we will go to the step 7, municipal council approval for MSWM plan and implementation including PPP. So, this also I explained in the step by step. So, step 1 is for to create the policies or legal framework to the local authority. Step 2, this is the important step. I believe that, because before making any plan, go for first the current situation and gap analysis. Now, here to assess the current situation gap analysis, I particularly believe that each corporation need to talk with some experts. These experts from the could be from the private as in industries, or from the academic institutes also could possible. There are a number of academic professors like in the IIT or NIT or other central colleges or state colleges, where the researchers are working. I believe that, because there are a lot of data has to be collected, and also the quantification and characterization study has to be performed into this particular step. Otherwise, it is very difficult to understand the what should be the current situation, and gap analysis is not possible, and this characterization also is very difficult. We had a one module onto the characterization. So, obviously, I think if the local authority is involved, some academic faculty or professors, is good for them also. Lot of discussions and lot of new understanding will come up in this step. So, once the step 2 is known, then we can go to the stakeholder consultation and talk to them. Okay, this is what the current situations are available, and as per current situation we come up with particular gaps. Like gaps could be like we do not have treatment facility, we do not have sanitary landfill is available, and the current situation is saying that the waste is highly biological in nature, could produce good quality of product through composting or biological treatment facility, and also we require the special facility for the sanitary landfill. Likewise, we can share with the stakeholders and have discussion with them, and once the discussion is over, then we can come up with draft municipal solid waste management plan. Draft plan by sitting with all technical people in the corporations, or with the some outside academicians, or some researcher can come by participations of the researcher also could possible into the while in the preparation of draft proposal. Then create the schedule for implementation, because the timeline, financial viability, manpower requirement, that has to be discussed. And then once it is over, then again you go to the same stakeholder consultation and share them. This is what has been the thought come up into the proposal, like the discussion, the point I was discussing about. When you are planning for incineration facility, you need to also look upon and need to talk about the stakeholders. If they will start some incineration facility, so the all recyclable matters, they will not be able to collect it. So maybe they can oppose also, and suppose they will oppose or do not find much beneficial, again we will go back to the draft proposal preparation. So, likewise, we can go again and again having the stakeholder. That is why see the step 3 and step 6 is specially given for the stakeholder discussions. So, that every time whatever the proposal you come up, you have discussion with the stakeholder, and finally, once the stakeholders is accepted all the points or whatever the proposal has been created by the local authority, then finally it will go to the municipal council approval for solid waste management plan, and finally this plan will be accepted and will be implemented. So, this is the best way to prepare the solid waste management plan, And now the role of state and regional level authority, like secretary in charge of the urban development department of the concerned state or union territory has the overall responsibility for the implementation of MSWM system in the cities and town in the line of SWM rule. And the same urban development department is required to prepare a state policy strategy for MSWM plan, and same urban development department has to report to the state bodies for SWM service provision, and ULB to them to the Ministry of Urban Development. And same UDD is also responsible for approval of land transfer from the state to ULB. States have the power to regulate the creation of staff position like technical, non-technical, and also the very important role by State Pollution Control Board is responsible for monitoring the compliance with the SWM plan and SWM rule. It is authorized to give environmental clearance to facilitate the listed in the environmental impact assessment notification 2006, and the power to authorize municipal authority or operators to set up a treatment and disposal facility also lies with the State Pollution Control Board. So, I think this is a very important role by state and regional level authorities, like especially with the urban development department. So, the secretary is playing the major role here, and after that for implementation ULB is the important one, and for monitoring State Pollution Control Board is important stakeholders. So, this is one news that state commit to waste segregation at source, but decentralization not at a priority. This was one news. So, why? Because we have plan, we have a lot of ideas, but still such kind of news are coming. Why? Because there is a need of local solid waste management plan. To develop a MSW plan and service, ULB has to assess the inadequacy in present SWM system and review the current system. So, local conditions shall be considered while assessing the inadequacy of existing services, and the idea is a local. What is the meaning of local solid waste management? So, is again depend upon the local conditions. I won't say is a climatic condition, local geological or climatic condition, like take example of northeast part of India, where rain is more than 6 months, somewhere 8 months rain in a year, or hilly conditions, especially in Meghalaya or Arunachal Pradesh. So, in that case, now whether whatever the priority is in the other part of India, in the plain areas, like they can have the very big sanitary landfill, they can have very big composting facility. In the open areas could be possible. So, is it possible to do it in these kind of areas? No, local condition says the 8 months rain means you can't have the landfill. Is very difficult because your groundwater table will be very high. So, it is very difficult to have the sanitary landfills in such areas. Even the sanitary landfills, the type of sanitary landfills will be different in the hilly regions. We can't go for simple excavation or area methods. We have to go for depression kind of landfills but there also, if you have the landfill in the hilly areas, there are a lot of leachate productions and lot of pollutions will come up. In both the cases, the local condition says that need to have more treatment facility should be provided. So, rather than looking onto the other states in the other part of India, they need not to have the similar kind of facilities. So, here specially will be required more house to house collection system is very important, segregated way, and treatment is more priority rather than the landfilling. I think that is what the local solid waste management plans also need to be discussed. So, this is solid waste management strategies for managing the following type of waste, like this one news. This is the gap analysis of solid waste management. So, when you are checking up any or when you are going through the any reports of solid waste management plan, so try to go through this particular gap analysis and see that whether such kind of project or such kind of plans are prepared based on the proper technical and non-technical understanding. So, now is the role of stakeholders in the MSWM planning. A core team or advisory team, also called as internal stakeholders, may be constitutes for developing the MSWM plan. The commissioner or chief executive of the ULB should lead the internal stakeholder team, and typical stakeholders for MSWM system includes household, businesses, industry, informal sectors, local government, NGOs, CBOs, self-help group, women's group, secondary school, college students or other member of the institutes may play major role. Now, the management task, in the any ULBs, you will have the boss of the corporation is a mayor or president or commissioners or chief officers. Their task will be to strategy goal, policy decision, frameworking, overall annual planning, overall monitoring. Like say health officers or engineers for the technical supervision, guidance operation, quality control operation, supervision, stakeholder management, responsibility of the service contracts, they have to be looked upon by the health officers and engineers. And finally, sanitary inspectors and supervisor, they have to look for implementation and supervision of day to day operation, guidance in human resources, monitoring of contracts, complaint should be readdressed, and maintenance infrastructure equipment that has to be looked from the sanitary inspectors and supervisor. Now, what extent the participation of stakeholders could be possible. So, I think if you talked about the passive one, passive means they won't get any initiatives and self mobilization, they have the very good willingness. So, I think based on this we can see that what kind of extension or engagement of stakeholders could be possible. So, maybe I think here major one is proactive functional engagement. This is also need to be see that we need not to accept only those are required are coming into the incentive for the only for purpose of incentives, but also see that how base they will be, they are the beneficial for us, and also the interactive participation, this is also good acceptable for such kind of people. Okay. Now, the establishments of institutional framework mechanism. So, is the planning for a efficient and advanced MSWM system should not be limited to the procurement of vehicle, equipment, adequate infrastructure, but also include effective institutional structure capable to steer and implement the MSWM system. It is strongly recommended that large ULBs have a SWM department headed by a environmental, civil or public health engineer, while shall ULBs have a specific SWM cell with technical and management person is recommended in this manual. This is also is a urgent need to train and build the capacities of staff involved in SWM activity, and also adequate and appropriate personal protective equipment should be provided to all the employees or the workers. Now, the institutional framework should be like this, have proper goals, principle and mechanism. So, goals should be the municipality is responsible for waste collection and disposal. The goal should be a protection of environmental quality, health condition, money for service quality, and the principle should be like accountability for delivery and quality of service, transparent and well defined responsibility, and the mechanism should be by decentralization or delegations or professionalization or supervision. We can achieve the particular goal by having proper principles. So, I think whatever the plan or strategies we are making for solid waste management should be include the understanding of integrated solid waste management strategies. So, by that we will be able to achieve the proper environmental conditions or proper living conditions for in the city while management of solid waste management or while disposal and treatment of solid waste management in particular region. So, thank you.